When we think of scenic rail journeys that let us travel through and to beautiful places, we might think of trains traveling through mountains, or over deep gorges, or along the coast. What we probably don't think of, though, is urban public transport. But there is a small number of regular urban transit lines out there that can bring you to some surprisingly scenic destinations, or even let you travel right through them. In this video, I want to introduce you to one such line, a line for which I will claim the title of Germany's most beautiful light rail line. Come along as we take a trip on line 66 of the Bonn light rail network. Line 66 is one of two main light rail services running through the city of Bonn. The section we will focus on today is its southern leg, which starts at the southern end of Bonn's light rail core section at the station called Olof Palme Allee. Olof Palme Allee is the branch point where Line 66 services split from those running to Bonn-Bad Godesberg. The station is located amidst busy roads and features distinctive circular glass canopies that can also be found at neighboring above-ground stations. While most light rail stations in Bonn are built with side platforms, Olof Palme Allee is built with an island platform to facilitate cross-platform transfers between Line 66 trains heading north and trains to Bad Godesberg heading south, as well as trains from Bad Godesberg heading north and Line 66 trains heading south. The rolling stock of Bonn's light rail system consists largely of these Stadtbahn B-Wagen, or Type B light rail vehicles, built from the mid-70s onwards. Some of these units have been serving the city since the light rail system first opened in 1975, although all units have undergone refurbishment since then, though to very differing degrees. This means that the trains we'll be riding and seeing today can look quite different from one another, while all being part of the same rolling stock class. Immediately after leaving the station at Olof Palme Allee, Line 66 curves away to the east. Trains then dive underground to serve the largely government buildings at Robert-Schumann-Platz, the first of two underground stations we encounter on our trip. After rising out of the ground again, we reach our first scenic location, where I'll exit the train. And so we have arrived at our first scenic spot on our journey along the southern leg of Bonn Light Rail Line 66. But this is really more of a scenic spot that the line can get you to, not so much one that it takes you right through. This is Bonn's Rhine Park. It is the largest urban park the city has to offer, and it was originally designed in the 1960s and early 70s to hold the Federal Gardening Exhibition that was coming to Bonn at that time. Yes, that is a thing that we have in Germany, Federal Gardening Exhibitions. Nowadays the park is basically just an ordinary public park, but it is extremely large and is beautifully landscaped, inviting all kinds of exercise. From strolling around to running to inline skating to cycling, you can do basically anything of that sort in this park beautifully. And And to illustrate the point of this actually being a scenic spot, I'm just going to ascend this hill located right by the light rail station. And from here we can have a quick overview of the surrounding area. And so here from the top of the hill, we've got a beautiful panoramic viewpoint of some of the things that we'll also get to later in the video. So this is definitely a beautiful spot to come to along line 66. But of course, as for the line itself, there is one undeniable drawback with this location. And this is it. Location, location, location. While the Rheinaue light rail station is very conveniently located for quick access to the park, you literally descend the ramp from the platform and you're right in the middle of it all. It's also located in the middle of this motorway. Because of course, in the 1960s and 70s, motorways in cities were all the rage. And so the planners, when they set up this park and the transportation infrastructure around it, included the construction of this motorway, which actually continues on to bridge the River Rhine, just as we will in our light rail train. But that means that it is loud here in this part of the park, and also even more so on the light rail platform, which we're going to return to, but this is really not a station and a part of the line where you want to spend too much time, because as you can see, here is the next light rail train. We're going to have to catch the one afterwards. It stops right in the median of this motorway. And so for this spot, the Rheinaue, I would definitely recommend moving away from the light rail a little bit to get a more quaint and serene scenic experience. But for the rest of this journey, the light rail line is going to bring us right to these scenic spots, or right past them, and we'll be able to enjoy them partially as well from the window of the train. So let's get back to the station and continue our journey. And here's the reference to the Federal Gardening Exhibition. It was actually held in 1979. Traveling east out of Rheinaue, make sure to sit on the right side of the train to get a spectacular view over the River Rhine and at the range of prominent hills in the background known as the Siebengebirge, or the Seven Mountains Range. Once across the Rhine, we descend below ground again to reach the second underground station of our trip, Ramersdorf. Ramersdorf can claim to be Bonn's second largest underground station, although it only has 3 tracks. It is here that we join up with Bonn Tram Line 62, with which we'll share the line for 3 more stops south of here. From this point on, we will also be traveling along the historic Siebengebirgsbahn, or Seven Mountains Railway, an interurban line that reached its modern terminus in the town of Bad Honnef in 1925. Leaving Ramersdorf, look left out of the vehicle to see the Rabenlei cliffs overlooking the line and Bonn's southeasternmost neighborhood of Oberkassel, which we are now traveling through. These cliffs are the result of rock quarrying and today feature a viewing area at the top. As we depart from Oberkassel Süd station, we say goodbye to tramline 62 and also leave Bonn's city limits behind. We then pass through the suburb of Oberdollendorf and head further south through a brief portion of decidedly non-scenic areas dominated by an expressway and local industry. But upon leaving the station at Longenburg, make sure to sit on the right side of the train again, as we now come to the most scenic section of the journey. To windy Königswinter, where the true scenic section of light rail line 66 begins. I just got off the station over there, which is the northernmost in Königswinter, called Clemens-August-Straße, and Königswinter is located right along the banks of the River Rhine, Germany's mightiest river, and this is a view that you're not going to get from any other light rail train that I know of. River is very full today, lots of water, which is great to see. We've had lots of problems with droughts over the last few years, very low water levels, but none of that today. And so south of this point, the line 66 actually stays by the riverside for the entire remainder of its journey. And so these are some of the views that we're going to get a lot more of as we continue. Let's take a little walk southwards from here. Königswinter is a quintessential Rhine River resort town, and in the early 20th century a lot of wealthy travelers came here to enjoy the beautiful scenery, go hiking, and of course also take in the clean air. And so that's why you will see a lot of elaborate early 20th century buildings, especially along the waterfront here. Here's another great example of the main industry of this town, tourism, because despite the fact that Königswinter is a pretty small place, the waterside is full of these extremely large hotels, well, extremely large compared to the other buildings you'll find in the town. More than 5 stories tall, to accommodate all of the visitors. Of course, it's less popular today, where anybody can take a trip down to Spain for just a few €100, but it definitely still holds its appeal. And of course, the light rail line 66 has been with us this whole time, running just a few meters back from the riverfront. If you want to see more of Königswinter, I've linked a video by professional travel vlogger Steve Marsh in the description, where he explores more of the town, its attractions and its surrounding area. In between the houses, we can glimpse the most famous of the 7 mountains, the Drachenfels, or Dragon's Rock, featuring a medieval castle ruin at the top, a cog railway, the so-called Drachenfelsbahn or Dragon Rock Railway, and the Schloss Drachenburg, a palatial mansion built in the 19th century. The journey south out of Königswinter offers beautiful views of the River Rhine, but looks even more stunning from the opposite bank of the river, where you can also see the Dragon's Rock in full. We are now at Rhöndorf stop. This is the final passing point north of the Line 66 terminus at Bad Honnef, and a northbound train has just arrived as well, so our southbound should now have the right of way to depart. Except the crossing gate has just been opened, so I guess it's not going just yet. Here at Rhöndorf, we are now to the south of the famous Dragon's Rock. We can see the castle ruins just above us here. It's a beautiful, clear view. And very fittingly, the first unit of that northbound train actually had advertising on it for the Dragon's Rock Railway, which is the cog railway that runs up there to the castle ruin that you can take for an easy time climbing the hill. All the while, the River Rhine has never left us. It's just about 20 to 30 meters to our west, but we're actually going to another place which is pretty interesting, which you can only find here in Rhöndorf. Now, this isn't so much a scenic spot as it is more of a general place of interest, but we're not going to spend too much time looking at it. I just wanted to include it in this video nonetheless. And here south of Rhöndorf, even the track of Line 66 itself becomes scenic, with beautiful green track being used down to Bad Honnef. I'm entering the center of Rhöndorf, and you can see there are some absolutely beautiful buildings here. And we're now also entering the Rhineland wine country, which is really sort of mostly south of here in Rhineland-Palatinate and in Hesse. But we're just sort of entering it here in the southernmost reaches of North Rhine-Westphalia as well. This unassuming house is what I came here to show you. This is actually the private residence of West Germany's first Chancellor, Konrad Adenauer, who lived here when he was Chancellor from 1949 until 1963, and today it's a museum that you can come visit, and there's also an additional larger modern museum building here on the street below the private residence, where you've got an exhibition detailing his whole life and career. And yes, he used to get picked up by his chauffeurs from here and driven over to Bonn for work. And I believe actually he used the ferry to cross the River Rhine into Bonn, because the motorway bridge that we crossed the river earlier with didn't exist yet when he was Chancellor. And here I found a much better view of the house. You can see pretty grand, although understated on the outside, but definitely a lot of space to spread out and live probably a pretty good life, although it must have been pretty stressful at the same time if you're in a position like he was. And then you can imagine where I'm standing now and where I'm walking now. This is where the chauffeur would have waited to pick up Mr. Adenauer, and I believe also a personal protection guard would have been stationed here as well to guard the house, especially at night. So that's Konrad Adenauer in Rhöndorf. Let's return to the light rail station by the riverside and finish this journey down to Bad Honnef. The towering building that you can see in the background there is actually the post office tower in Bonn, which is not too far away at all from where we started our journey today. So we've come quite a long way, and we only have a little more to go to the Line 66 terminus at Bad Honnef. Departing Rhöndorf, we keep skirting the Rhine's eastern bank before our next call at Bad Honnef am Spitzenbach, our penultimate stop and what I assume to be Bonn's least used light rail station due to its relatively out-of-the-way location. And so that's it. Bonn's light rail line 66. We have reached the end at Bad Honnef, and we've reached the end of the video. Hopefully you found it interesting. Hopefully it showed you something that you hadn't yet seen before. And yeah, if you're ever in the area, Cologne, Bonn, thereabouts, consider taking a trip down here to experience some really beautiful scenery for a very affordable price as well, and in a way that's really easy to use. Trains run frequently all week long, of course, because it's just urban public transport, but accessing some pretty special places. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.